Hey guys, it's Paul once again, and this time I want to talk about a specific distributor, that being Donna Michelle Productions, a very obscure, very sought after distributor from the 80s. They mostly released shot on video stuff. Almost all of it, pretty much all of it is shot on video stuff if you don't include some of the clips from Monsters and Maniacs. But the special thing about Donna Michelle is that they cater to homemade movies. Stuff like the McBride films, as you could see, or, well, Abomination isn't an SOV film, I just remembered. It's like a 8mm film. But nonetheless, they cater to independent filmmakers or just ordinary people who want to get their SOV movie distributed. Certainly a fun distributor to have. The first video I ever collected from them was Cannibal Campout. At the time, I wasn't really looking to collect horror VHS. I was just looking to find really weird, obscure horror films. I was really interested in SOV films because they seemed like homemade movies, and I thought to myself, why would anybody release homemade movies onto VHS cassette? Back in those days, it just intrigued me. Why would anyone do that? So I got Cannibal Campout, and I loved it. I absolutely loved Cannibal Campout. And then I picked up Woodchipper Massacre, not even knowing that it was a Donna Michelle title. I realized it when I got it in the mail and saw Donna Michelle, so I was like, let me find the other Donna Michelle titles. I like this SOV stuff. I'm very interested in seeing how ordinary people make movies, or at least their attempts to make movies, so let me see what else they have to offer. And after some research, I found out what all 7 were, and ever since I've been trying to track them down, and that's how I got started to collect Donna Michelle titles. I want to go through each and every video, talk about the movie a little bit, and show you the artwork. First, I'd like to talk about just a basic thing that involves all the movies. Some of the logos spell Donna Michelle with 1 L, some of them spell Donna Michelle with 2 L's. Whenever Donna Michelle is written in actual text and not the logo, it's spelled with 2 L's. For example, here we have the Donna Michelle logo on Cannibal Campout, which is spelled with 1 L. You can't really see it on the cassette here. Wait for it to focus in, and you kind of see the 1 L on Michelle, right? You see that 1 L? This is the first of the Donna Michelle titles. It doesn't even have the catalog number on the spine, as you can see. Here we have the second one, which is Woodchipper Massacre, and this one has the logo in pretty big on the cover, and it is spelled with, let it focus, here it is, 2 L's. Pretty interesting. Now, in the beginning of each video, they have a video kind of introduction, a video logo, whatever people call it, and it's spelt with 1 L. So that's why on my site, I seem kind of confused on how to spell Donna Michelle, but I'll just go with the 2 L's, because it's most often spelt with 2 L's. Just off the bat, that was very interesting. And it's not like they spelt it wrong on the first tape and corrected it on the second. If you look closely to the other ones, the third tape that they released, which is the Abomination, catalog number 103, this uses the logo with 1 L. Let it focus, and there you've got Donna Michelle with 1 L. So they're very inconsistent, Donna Michelle, very inconsistent with their design of the VHSs and all that stuff. As you can see from the spines, they didn't have any real, I guess, template for their VHS releases, like Media, or what's another one, I guess Embassy, or some other distributor. They had pretty much a template of how all the boxes were designed, but as you can see, they're all pretty different. The first two kind of have the same, they pretty much have the same logo, but VHS logo, but here you have the Donna Michelle logo on this tape. This one you don't, but you get a catalog number. Here it just says VHS in regular text, probably because most people don't know that that VHS logo is copyrighted. It's a JVC logo. You're not really supposed to put it on VHSs unless you get written permission or whatever the case may be. So maybe they figured that out after they released the first two. Like I said, these two are pretty much similar with the VHS logo, although the spines are different. Here you got the image more close to the top. This one has the Donna Michelle logo at the top. You've got a Tactical Killer Refrigerator, which doesn't even have the catalog number. It doesn't even have a spine image. So that one's pretty bland. It doesn't really have any information on there except it's saying VHS on the bottom. Then you have Splatter Farm, which has the catalog number pretty big. DMP, Donna Michelle Productions, number 106, the second to last of the Donna Michelle tapes, as you can see. And then you have Rock and Roll Mobster Girls, which has some of that splatter effect that's on the cover also seeping over to the spine, and that's the last of them, 107. Let's talk about Cannibal Campout. I first heard of this movie from the Golden Movie Retriever book, probably 2003-2004 edition. Had the name Cannibal Campout, so immediately I was interested. Had a bad review, I think, so I was even more interested. It was hard to find, made me even more interested, and when I finally got it, I loved it. I was a huge fan of this film when I first discovered it. Not a lot of people were talking about it at the time like they are now with the DVD release and everything. But at the time, I was bootlegging it on eBay because it was a difficult tape to get, so I didn't really look at myself as trying to make a lot of money off these tapes. I just wanted to share the movie with others. It was an obscure tape that I thought other people should see. In doing that, and this was like 7 years ago, this was a long time ago, the co-director of the movie contacted me, and he didn't contact me to say, why are you bootlegging my movie? He pretty much contacted me, pretty surprised that people were interested in this film. He pretty much told me the story with John McBride and how they had a falling out over financial issues and all these things, and we had a correspondence for a while, pretty good conversation, which I printed somewhere. I have it somewhere in my paperwork, so I should probably find that and post it, but it's a pretty interesting conversation I had with him. Now, the movie itself is pretty interesting because John McBride pretty much did everything himself. He directed it, or at least co-directed it. He sang in it, sang the music for the movie. He acted in it. He pretty much did everything for this movie. So it's certainly something very special, and John McBride is certainly an auteur, as they would say. Someone who has complete control, almost complete control over their picture. I mean, he did everything. He even sang the music. I mean, how many filmmakers do you know who have sang the music for their own movie? Cannibal Campout was the first SOV movie I've ever picked up, and it's certainly probably my most favorite one. So I would certainly suggest anyone to pick it up. It's a great film, worth watching. It's the first of the Donna Michelle titles, the most successful one, and I guess that Donna Michelle would go back to John McBride asking him to make another movie because Cannibal Campout was so successful, and that's how we got Woodchipper Massacre, which is this one. I don't know how successful this one was on the video market. Maybe not very successful because I guess they stopped asking John McBride to make movies, or maybe he just stopped. I don't really know the true story behind that. People either love this movie or hate it. I don't like it very much. It's boring. Some people love it for the cheesy lines, cheesy acting by the kids in the movie. It's a fun movie. It was released on DVD. I think that the DVD distributor should have released both of them back to back, like as a 2-disc set. I don't know why they didn't do that, but it would have been a great 2-disc set for them to release back to back. The artwork on here is definitely not as cool as Cannibal Campout. Cannibal Campout is pretty gory. A guy ripping a girl's neck open with his mouth. That's pretty cool. But here we got something that seems kind of cartoony. You would expect with a title like this to see a woodchipper shooting out body parts and guts and all these things, but really what we get is a piano with some blood dripping off of it, and it's pretty much drawn very cartoony. I really don't like it very much. The logo is kind of cool with that guy falling into the woodchipper there, but otherwise I really don't like the artwork. It has a pretty cool tagline at the top. How much flesh would a woodchipper chip if a woodchipper could chip flesh? That's kind of fun. I got it because of the name, and at the time I got Woodchipper Massacre, I didn't realize that it was a Donna Michelle title. It was just, like I said before, it was just a coincidence, and after getting those two shot-on-video films, I knew that the other Donna Michelle titles must also have other shot-on-video stuff. But here we have The Abomination. I wouldn't get this one until much later. In fact, I got this one kind of by accident. I got it for $1 from some guy I met online. Probably didn't know the value of it. Out of the Donna Michelle titles, one of the two most difficult to get horror titles. So this one's very sought after. It has lots of gore, and I think it was released independently recently by the filmmakers. It's actually not an SOV film, like most people would think, because of the other Donna Michelle titles, but it's actually shot on 8mm. It has lots of gore, some funny acting, all these things, and it's not so bad a film. The Abomination only comes up on eBay a few times a year. It doesn't come up very often, but when it does, it usually goes for a lot of money. It'll either go up to either $40 or friggin' $80 to $100. It's a very sought after tape, but not the most sought after tape from the Donna Michelle tapes like most people think. That would come later. The Abomination, certainly cool. As you can see from my video is in friggin' mint condition here. The person who sold this to me said he bought it brand new from some record store, and he only watched it once. So it was never even an ex-rental. It had only been watched twice, once by the original owner and once by me. So certainly a rare tape, and I'm glad to have it in such great condition. Alright, now the next one is the most difficult one for me to get. and I've got, this is the last of the Donna Michelle tapes that I finally got. It took the longest for me to get, is Monsters and Maniacs. I recently got this off of eBay for 40 bucks. Buy it now. That's a lot of money for this tape, bear in mind. Even how difficult it is to get, it's a lot of money for this tape. Every time it would go up on eBay, it would sell for 8 bucks, 12 bucks. Not a lot of money at all, but I would always miss the auction. I'd find out about it after it had already ended. So when I finally found it on eBay recently with a buy it now $40, I just bought it just to freaking complete the collection finally and get it off my mind. This is the worst of the Donna Michelle titles. It's not a movie, it's a compilation video, kind of like other things we've seen with Zombathon and Film Gore. But this one is tremendously boring. Pretty much what it is you got Brink Stevens, a scream queen, who's played in, like, I think Slumber Party Massacre, and she is in a sound studio with some movie posters behind her talking about these movies. And they range from old black and white movies to more modern movies, at least then, like Blood Frenzy, Texas Chainsaw, which came out in '74. It actually used clips from more mainstream movies I was surprised that they actually put on here, or they were able to get permission from. But a lot of the clips are from trailers and such. It's 2 hours, probably the longest of the Donna Michelle titles, but really what you get is mostly just clips of movies with her narrating the history of the genre of horror films. And like the first segment is like the history of Dracula films, then there's a segment of the history of, I think, Frankenstein films, and then later it goes on to slasher films. She's on camera for very little. In the whole 2 hours, I think she's on camera for maybe 5 minutes. Maybe not even 5 minutes. Most of it is just her narrating the history of the horror genre, which I guess would be interesting at the time if you were a movie buff, but otherwise, if you rented this expecting some crazy monster movie, you'd be pretty disappointed because it's incredibly boring. There's 2 main segments where she is on screen, which is the introduction. She kind of tells you who she is, what movie she was in. There's a segment with this Jason character that comes on screen, but other than that, she's hardly in the video itself. It's just 2 hours of her narrating the history of horror films. I didn't expect much from this, and it's actually, like I said before, the rarest of the Donna Michelle tapes. You would think that it would be a horror film, I mean, like an SOV horror film, like Splatter Farm or something, but it's not. This is actually the rarest, at least in my experience in the past 7 years of collecting these things. It was the most difficult to get, but ironically, it goes for the least amount of money. It sells for about $12, like I said before. I think these are more rare, this one and Rock and Roll Mobster Girls, which we'll get to in a little bit. I think they're most rare because they had no real appeal to them. I think video stores didn't want to put these on their shelves. It was just a waste of money. I guess they thought that they wouldn't get a lot of rentals from these kind of videos, so they didn't stock them. They had no selling point, like Splatter Farm or Cannibal Campout had a selling point, and really that was the gore, but these sort of movies didn't. So I guess Donna Michelle didn't sell as many of them, making them a lot more difficult to get. That's pretty much my theory on that. That's Monsters and Maniacs, the most difficult of the tapes to get. You won't even find an image of this movie on the internet unless it's an eBay listing. You can't even find any information on this, really. So it's very, very difficult to get. The most difficult of the Donna Michelle titles. The next title we have here is Attack of the Killer Refrigerator, one of the most interesting horror VHSs from the 80s, and for several reasons. First of all, you have the artwork here. Oh no, I just hate cold cuts. Very cheesy comic book bubble right on top of there. And you got the name Attack of the Killer Refrigerator. I bumped into people who weren't horror VHS collectors and brought up this title. And I'll be like, I have that movie and I know all about it. It just blows people's minds that there's a movie called Attack of the Killer Refrigerator. They really don't know anything about it. But here we have the VHS, a very rare VHS. Not the rarest of the Donna Michelle titles, not the rarest horror one. I would say Cannibal Campout, Woodchipper Massacre, and Attack of the Killer Refrigerator are the most common Donna Michelle titles, probably because they were the most successful on the video market. Here we have a VHS that actually has 3 features on it. You have Attack of the Killer Refrigerator, which is a short film. It's a 16-minute short film by these young kids with a camcorder. Very, very horrendous. It feels like a very bad YouTube short film. Not done very well, not done with a tripod, just pretty crappy. Pretty much it was put on this cassette to exploit the title. I mean, the title's provocative. Even Savino, the guy who made these films, he put them on DVD and he started buying ad space on MySpace to market the movie. I actually saw it back in the day. You got Attack of the Killer Refrigerator, which I said is a short film about 16 minutes, very badly made. The opening credits was done on, I think, a chalkboard, and they spelled the word refrigerator wrong. So these kids were real idiots at the time. But the highlight of this is actually the main feature, The Hook of Woodland Heights, and it's really sad that it's so small in the box because it's actually a pretty good movie. It's made by the same filmmakers right after they had made Attack the Killer Refrigerator. If you had seen this in the store, you would say Attack the Killer Refrigerator, a movie about a killer refrigerator. You look at the back, look for pictures, no real pictures. You might read the first 2 paragraphs and that's it. And you take it home. And of course you wouldn't take the video home with the original box, usually in a separate clamshell. You put the movie into the VCR, you watch the first 16 minutes of this horrible short film, and then it ends. You would be totally disappointed with what you just rented. You probably spent $4 or $5 renting it at the video store. You watch a 16-minute horrible short film, and then you realize that's it. A lot of people probably didn't realize that there's a second feature at the end. It doesn't tell you in the beginning that there's a second feature. The main feature, which is a lot better and much more entertaining. The Hook of Woodland Heights, which is a little slasher film about this psycho who breaks out of a mental facility. I actually did a review of the movie Attack the Killer Refrigerator cassette on my channel, so you guys can go check that out, where I talk about it a lot more. But what even makes this VHS even more interesting is the fact that it has a behind-the-scenes making of little featurette, which is really cool because you usually didn't get that on VHSs back in those days. It's really cool to get insight on the people who made these SOV films and how they did it and with who they did it. And it's really cool because in that featurette you kind of see how the whole community came together to help these kids make this little movie. You also see the little wrap-up party. They arrive in a limo to their party with tuxedos and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of funny, but I love this VHS just for the fact that it has these 3 most very different features on it. Attack the Killer Refrigerator, The Hook of Woodland Heights, and the behind-the-scenes featurette. I don't even think the behind-the-scenes featurette is even mentioned on here. Here is what I would think, or would imagine to be, the most rare of the Donna Michelle horror titles, and it's Splatter Farm. How I got this so cheap is pretty much a miracle, an eBay miracle. There was a lot online of like 10 tapes. They were mostly those horrible witchcraft movies. I think there's like 11 or 12 of them now. And there was actually Class Act, which is that comedy movie, and this was in the lot. It wasn't like I bid on the lot because I saw that this movie was in the lot. I mean, Splatter Farm was part of the eBay listing title. So I'm surprised that nobody else bought this lot just for this video because it's so tremendously rare. When I first started collecting back 7-8 years ago, a valuable tape would go for maybe $30-$40 back in those days. And that was a lot of money to me then. Now tapes go for a ridiculous amount of money. But even then this tape went for almost $100. That's how rare it was even then. So I'm very happy to have gotten this tape. I mean, I stumbled upon it really by accident. Just seeing Splatter Farm in the title, and at the time I was taking a break from buying a lot of videos, but I knew how rare this was, and I was like, I'm just gonna get it now, and I'm so happy I did. I would have regretted it the rest of my life if I had not gotten it. This is a very difficult tape to get, and I think the reason why it would go for so much back in the early days of eBay is because there's such weird and sick and twisted stuff that go on in this movie. You have these 2 young kids who really make this movie with some really twisted content. This movie was later released by the Polonia brothers, the guys who made the movie when they were a young kid. It was re-released and they re-edited it. And this cut of the movie is different than the new DVD release. In fact, this version has more gore in it. You would think that with new digital equipment that the new version of the movie would be a lot better, but it's not. The new edits in the DVD are not very good at all. I expected a lot more from them, but the new DVD release, like I said, is just not much better. This is a great VHS to have, very, very rare. The rarest of the Donna Michelle horror titles, and when I say by horror titles, I mean Cannibal Campout, Woodchipper Massacre, Abomination, Attack the Killer Refrigerator, and Splatter Farm. I don't include these. These 2, Monsters and Maniacs and Rock Roll Mobster Girls, are the rarest Donna Michelle titles for the reasons I mentioned before. Rock and Roll Mobster Girls was a very difficult tape to get, but I finally found it. It was listed a few times on certain websites, and I missed out on it, and someone else had bought it. I couldn't even find an image of it. It took me such a long time to finally find an image of this movie, and I finally did. I was so excited that I finally knew what it looked like, because when you get an image, it confirms that the tape actually exists. Sometimes you just read about the movie, and it's like you don't even know if it was rumored to exist. But when I found an image of it, I was happy. But finally got it on eBay for $8 or $10. Probably the second rarest of all 7 Donna Michelle titles. It was very difficult for me to get it, but I finally snatched it up, and I'm very happy to have it. On the cover it says, "Are you ready to be spinal zapped?" It certainly is a sort of ripoff of an SOV ripoff of Spinal Tap, which is very horrible. There's some scenes that take place in a video store, so you get to see some scenes in a video store, some videos in the background, as you can see here. It's a very bad SOV film, but interesting. A lot goes on in this little crappy movie, and I like it. I mean, I don't want to say I enjoy it as a piece of entertainment. I enjoy the nostalgia of SOV films. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. These are all 7 of the Donna Michelle titles. If you're interested in the back, I'll show you the back, because I know I didn't show you the back on some of these. Of course, Cannibal Campout shows some of the more gory scenes in the movie. Guy with the axe in the face and the guts on John McBride, which are kind of cool. You can see it, give you a little closer right there. Pretty cool. The first of the Donna Michelle, and I would say the most successful of the Donna Michelle titles at the time. Then you got Woodchipper Massacre. If you're interested in the back, lots of text back there. No real gore in the back here, because there's no real gore in the movie. They pretty much have a head and some bones on a tarp, is what it looks like, but there's no real gore in this movie. Nothing crazy. Abomination has some gore. They got some gore on the back there. You got a chainsaw dismembering a body, girl getting her throat cut, a corpse in the bottom, all that good stuff, as you can see here. So this tape is in pretty mint condition. Here we have just this image, just like this drawing of a wolfman. I guess that's all they could really put on the tape, because they couldn't really market this tape with any images from the trailers or clips that were in here, because they're probably copyrighted images. So that's why the back is so plain. And the best back, I would say, of all these is this. Tactical refrigerator. It's inside a refrigerator, and this is the killer of The Hook of Woodland Heights. He has nothing to do with the short film Attack the Killer Refrigerator. I always wondered what that face was until I watched The Hook of Woodland Heights, but that's him. That's the killer, and he's pretty cool in the movie. He's a pretty good killer. Splatter Farm. Not much gore in the back of Splatter Farm, surprisingly. For such a gory, gross film, not a lot of gore in the back. And then you've got Rock and Roll Mobster Girls, which I already showed. So that's all 7 Donna Michelle titles. I wish I knew more history about this distributor. All we really know is that they put ads in the back of video store magazines or video magazines or whatever, and people like John McBride found the ad and sent their movie in, and they were interested in distributing it. I would imagine that Donna Michelle Productions was very sleazy, probably didn't give all the money that was due to these filmmakers for their movie. So I would love to know, like, where these people are now, the people who did Donna Michelle, like the person who started the business. I guess they probably don't want to be found, because they were probably so sleazy and stole a lot of money from these filmmakers. That's all I could really think about to say about Donna Michelle. It was always a distributor that I loved when collecting, and I finally have all of them. This has been Paul with slasherindex.com or VHScollector.com, and I would love to do another distributor highlight video, so keep a lookout.